what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Benchwarmers. Almost said recap. Benchwarmers. It is Monday. It is 4:30 p.m. PST, and I'm back. Sorry I took the last week off on account of everything having to do with work, and then going on vacation and stuff. Didn't really have a lot of time to get myself caught up once I got back, which was on Friday morning. And figured just hold off until Monday. So to see all your lovely faces and all your lovely comments in the chat here. But as always, remember, give us a follow here on Twitch. Give us a follow on YouTube, hat-club there. Subscribe, like our shit. Why not? That's why we keep doing this. We do it for you guys. But anyway, I got a pretty solid show this week. We're going to be talking baseball. We're going to be talking NCAA championships, men's and women's for basketball, of course. Playoff standings, how everything's looking for the NBA, NHL, and English Premier League standings. And then, of course, talking about my wins and losses in Las Vegas, as I always tend to do. But anyway, yes, I don't have hair anymore, or sort of, but it's all gone. Jam 1620, what's going on, brother? Logan Herrera, what is up? Actually, Logan, I'm going to be seeing you this upcoming weekend, man, or at least I hope I am. Yeah, dude, just life goes on, man. Just changes, work, haircuts galore. I know there's going to be some other people popping in here in the chat in a sec, but anyway, got to start the show off, of course, of all my recent jersey pickups. A bunch, and I mean a bunch. Oh, Sub Diego 619, president of the Estuary Ruiz fan club here. Thoughts on wristband gate? I will get to that in just a little bit, because I got some opinions. But anyway, jersey pickups. So this one took me a long time to track down. I need another Oregon jersey in my arsenal. Couldn't just keep wearing that dirty Fred Jones all the time. But at number 13, Mr. Luke Ridnour. Big pickup for me. Love to see it. Another one I just got is a pretty super faded out Stacey Augmon Atlanta Hawks. Definitely planning on stripping the rest of this one, either sticking with the Hawks or I could even go at Houston Rockets. Same colorway. David Kearns, what's going on, brother? Many options to go with this one. And this one was actually one of the rarest ones I've picked up in a long time. Very few people remember this one ever coming out, but it did, because I always had the question of, why didn't Champion ever make a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar jersey? And actually, they did. They just never made one for the Lakers, but they did one to commemorate his time with the Milwaukee Bucks. For whatever reason, no last name on the back, probably more to go for accuracy from back in the day. But yeah, this one, huge, and I mean huge pickup. Was not cheap. Thanks a lot, Mr. Throwback in New York. I've been trying to buy this one off him for a couple months, and he finally gave me a price, and I paid for it. Of course, before my trip to Vegas, which was probably a huge mistake financially, but it's all good. It's all good. And then my friend Marlon, who I always send blank jerseys or jerseys to get customized. He sent me a big ass box, and thankfully it came in like the day before my wife and I went to Las Vegas. Actually, there's a couple of these that came in earlier because there was one specifically I needed for the Pac-12 tournament. Or actually two. I can't remember what I did with the second one. I think it's actually hanging up here. He made me a Luke Ridnour Minnesota Timberwolves one. He also made me this lovely Indiana Pacers Freddie Jones. Boom. I had nothing else to do with this one. And even though it's technically not part of the era that the Pacers were still wearing these, kind of borderline. But your slam dunk champion, former Oregon Duck right here, Freddie Jones. What else we got? Found another random number 33 draft jersey for the Los Angeles Clippers. I'd already done the Keith Kloss one, so had to roll with the Florida Gator Dwayne Schnitzis for this one. Very happy about that. But more specifically, I kind of wish I'd done this last year when I had the mullet, but I had to find another one. So anyway, Tone Cruz, what's going on? Who we got next? New York Knicks. This one had number 13 on the front, blank on the back. So always keeping with the same print patterning and stuff. This was an easy decision. University of North Dakota's own number 18, Phil Jackson. Yeah, former player Phil Jackson, soon to be Hall of Fame head coach. What we got next? Vancouver Grizzlies. Champion actually made this one, but I ended up just having it custom made just because I have yet to see one in person. But number 7, Lawrence Moten. I doubt very many people remember this guy. But because of the fact that Champion, like I said, did make his jersey, I had to get it. Who we got next? Milwaukee Bucks once again going to the purple and green era. Number 54. No, that is not University of Michigan's Robert Tractor Trailer. It is actually Brad Lowhouse. And the big deal about this one is this was the last player I needed to complete the entire roster from the original NBA Jam video game. So, expect to see a post about this in the not too distant future, probably around the time the playoffs start up. But anyway, I have finally crossed the list off of every player who was featured in the original 1993 arcade game of NBA Jam in my jersey arsenal. Super fired up about that. Where are we going next? We are going with the Utah Jazz. Number 47, Mr. AK-47, Andre Kirilenko. And I seriously cannot thank Marlon enough for the absolute quality and accuracy that he does on these jerseys. Like, it is flawless. Oh, love it. Let's see. I had a Atlanta Hawks number 1 draft jersey. So kept the number 1 integrity. Just threw the last name on the back. So DeMar Johnson, former NBA draft pick from the year 2000. Let's see what we got next. Miami Heat. Number 40, kept that intact. It was a Kurt Thomas jersey, but who is, of course, known as the greatest number 40 to ever play for the Miami Heat. That, of course, is Udonis Haslem. So, which funny story actually about Udonis Haslem. He came into the league right after Champion lost the NBA contract. So, yes, it's not historically accurate, but at the same time, it kind of is because they still wore this era of jersey and such. And so, Udonis, you made the cut. Where are we going next? This was a Derek Anderson number 1 jersey. No, I did not go Wembayana. I went with a more obscure Corey Alexander, who is part of the 1995 NBA draft for the San Antonio Spurs. That story's coming later because I still need like 3 more players from the 1995 NBA draft first round, and I will have every player who was ever drafted in that particular draft. Looking forward to wrapping up that one. I've got 2 number 34 Boston Celtics. Yeah, it was Paul Pierce, but I found these, had the last names removed. Went with other former greats for the Celtics, more specifically University of Maine / University of Virginia, Rick Carlisle, who NBA champion coach Rick Carlisle for the Dallas Mavericks, but current coach for the Indiana Pacers for his second time. Stoked about this one. And I had said I had a second one. Hold on one sec. Let me grab it. So, yep, number 34 again. This time went with the X-Man Xavier McDaniel route. Love me some X-Man. Wichita State. Number 8. So, not Antoine Walker. This was another one had the last name removed off. And went with Kenny Battle. So, why not? Who we got next? I got 2 more. I got a Dallas Mavericks here. Number 40. Lauren Meyer. Once again, super obscure Dallas Maverick. Only reason I had this one made once again is because I'm filling out the entire first round of the 1995 draft class. So I definitely need a Lauren Meyer in this. Seb Diego says 619 says you're gonna open one hell of a sports bar one day. I'm gonna invest in Shadow Box stock. Hell yeah. And then last but not least, Chicago Bulls. So at one point, This was an NBA at 50, as you can see by the gold logo. Michael Jordan jersey, so probably a pretty rare one that I should not have messed with. But all the numbers and lettering were cracking and or fading off, so it's like, I got to do something special with this. So instead of 23, went with number 53, which NBA Hall of Famer Artist Gilmore. So one of one. I love it. Love all of them. And that's it. It's my jersey scoops for the last couple weeks here. Marlon been working on those ones actually for the last couple months, and so I am super pumped about it. But I got to do like an Instagram live and really go into more detail as far as like why I did these. That was just kind of like a rush job on that one. So anyway, Logan Harris says, I will be there. Hopefully I will see you on Friday, but definitely will be there for you from the Mexican candy. Have my eyes on the Mauzapan 2000 star. I will definitely be there. I'm flying in on Thursday, actually. So it's a good chance you might see me a little bit more advanced time on that one. But anyway, let's talk about sports. Sports, baby. And figure lead off the show with the thing that pisses me off the absolute most. And that, of course, is this never-ending saga with the Oakland Athletics. Or should I say Sacramento Athletics at this point, because of the fact that oh fuck. Oh, flash fire. Glad you popped in right at the right time. Um to kind of recap everything that's been going on with this, of course, the A's are projected to end up in Las Vegas with a brand new stadium in 2028. The Tropicana, ironically, I don't know how this happened. My wife and I just always seem to get the timing of this like in ridiculous like time frames. That was a very clunky sentence, and I apologize. But anyway, so last year, or like kind of like the tail end of last year, my wife and I happened to be in Vegas when the Fountain Blue opened. So my wife and I, first time ever, brand new casino, hotel casino, whatever. And we went there for opening night. Not like the first opening night, but like the unofficial opening night because they had all the celebrities and blah, blah, blah for opening night, whatever. So, so of course, we've been there for a grand opening of a new hotel casino. Coincidentally, this last week, we were also in town for the closure of a hotel casino, and that, of course, was the Tropicana on the corner of what is it? Actually, on the corner of Tropicana and South Las Vegas Boulevard. So we did not go by, didn't want to mess with that just because of all the nonsense that was going on, and of course, they are going to implode it once they get all the poisonous asbestos, to which case there is a lot of it. Oakland A's, quote unquote, are going to be the connection cut out there. God damn it. Let me give it a couple seconds. So, anyway, A's are going to be playing till the end of the season here in the Oakland Coliseum. They got really arrogant as far as, not wanting to play in Oakland, et cetera, et cetera. So they were searching other places to possibly play for the next couple of years until whatever happens in Vegas is put together. So they were looking at Sacramento, and they were also looking additionally in Las Vegas and Salt Lake City, Utah, blah, 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 blah. They, of course, met up with Xiao Tang, the mayor of Oakland, and tried to hammer out a deal, et cetera, et cetera. And then that son of a bee, owner of the Sacramento Kings, Vivek Ranadive, opened his mouth, and because him and John Fisher, the owner of the A's, are good friends, and said, hey, why don't you play in Sacramento? And that is exactly what is going on. I keep want to say Rally Field because Sacramento River Cats usually played, but they actually changed it a couple years ago to Southern Health Field. Flashfire says the smells of Fisher trying to drive up bidding between Vegas, Vivek Ranadive, and Joe LaCobe. I agree. And Flashfire also pointing out the Giants helped make it possible for the A's to go play in Sacramento, which is absolute bullshit. Because of the fact that for years and years and years, and I look at the situation and it's just like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the end of the world. When Dude Pal, old owner, owned the team whose name escapes me right now because I hate him so much, but he was a college roommate with Bud Selig at University of Wisconsin. God, what is his name? I don't know why I'm spacing on it. Help me out, Flash. Who was the other owner besides John? Yeah, Lou Wolf. Thank you. Lou Wolf wanted to move the team to Fremont. He wanted to move the team to San Jose, just because he's a real estate developer, and so it's just like you might as well own the land for your professional team, et cetera, et cetera. Own the territorial rights there because of the single. If we go back to the 1990s, that territory used to be owned by the Oakland A's. Back when Walter Hass owned the team between 1980 and his passing in 1995, blah blah blah. So here we are in this dilemma, and now the A's are moving to Sacramento for the next 3 years as soon as this season concludes. To which case, the fact that the Giants were so willing to allow it to happen, the Sacramento River Cats, I know for a fact, are not stoked about it. They try to be as diplomatic as possible within their wording of the situation when interviewed by local TV stations, and they are clearly pissed about the situation. Are going to share the field, which is going to be, especially because it's going to affect all the other teams in the league when they, start up AAA season next year for the Pacific Coast League, more specifically. But more importantly, it's like for anybody in the Oakland area, we're not going. And anybody in Sacramento who supports this thing, screw you. This is completely unnecessary. Yes, there is the possibility, and this is a big long shot of a possibility of Joe LaCobe, as Flasher was saying in the comments, going to drive up the price and potentially get him to buy because LaCobe has been trying to buy the team for years now, and Fisher just doesn't want to do it. So it really becomes more of a matter of bumping up the valuation of the team, which is currently set around $1.2 billion, according to Forbes, which in my opinion is like way too goddamn high of a number, especially considering the fact that when John Fisher bought the team and, he only paid like $200 million for it. Ridiculous. Sub Diego says PCL runs on 6-game series. That's going to be it really was more of like, what the hell are they? Then comments with, I saw some rumor the River Cats could play some games in the Coliseum, to which I say, LOL, yeah, right. And apparently the Giants are trying to block that because I heard the same rumor, but because it would affect their TV market and their not thrilled about it. But at the same time, it's like, well, screw you guys. But more importantly, when it comes to naming rights, like the Oakland A's gotten themselves in a bit of hot water. Thanks to my friend Will McNeil, aka Right Field Will 149. This, of course, all went down while I was on vacation. There was a piece of paper that he had found that was going in between all the vendor stands and the shops and stuff, and basically a detailed list of things that they need to have removed. So anything saying rooted in Oakland, get rid of. Anything that says Oakland written on it, hide toward the back because the A's are trying to distance themselves as much as possible from Oakland as they possibly can. It is fucked up. To which case, they also came out and said, oh, with this Sacramento move, we're just going to be known as the A's or the Athletics. We're not going to have any city tie whatsoever. So, in a sense, it's kind of like a Las Vegas Raiders situation because they generally, when you look at all the product that the Raiders put out, it'll just be Raiders Nations, and there's usually no city tied to it just because of the fact that they played in LA, they played in Oakland twice, and now here they are in Las Vegas. However, after rights for the Sacramento, to which case they still have never filed a trademark licensing for the Las Vegas A's or the Las Vegas Athletics. But guess who did? That's right. Our friends at Last Dive Bar jumped the gun, put in the trademark application for both the Las Vegas idiots. Not on this one, but the whole Ron Fisher, Dave Cavall, and all the other flunkies, and they still hadn't filed trademark rights for the naming rights. Dumbasses. Oh my God. So, Oh, I'm skipping. I'm sorry. It's not saying I'm cutting in and out or anything like that. So I apologize. But anyway, this whole thing is madness. And moving from a facility that's like 60,000 plus, because that's realistically what the Oakland Coliseum is, to a stadium that can borderline hold 10,000 people. Yeah, they're going to have the outfield grass, etc., kind of like a spring training vibe to it. But the facility is not set up for a major league team or even that capability. Maybe for one game they could get away with it, but not for an entire season. So, the A's are a goddamn mess. And the fact that I loved and supported this team for so many years has zero to do with anything, and worked for the team, for Christ's sake. I worked for the team for 2.5 years during the John Fisher ownership. And so it pains me. And I know it pains a lot of other A's fans in this situation, especially being from Oakland, living in Oakland, etc. We're not going to support it. And that's why we all collectively did the party in the tailgate for opening day, because we wanted to prove a point that it's just like there are more of us that want to support this team and these players, but in good conscience, we cannot throw our money at John Fisher. Screw that guy. And it was incredible. I mean, we had 20,000 plus out there. Meanwhile, inside the game, there was like only like 3,500 people. So our voices are being heard. Our presence is being shown. Yeah, we're getting the cold shoulder from John Fisher and the front office, whatever. Screw them. We're going to keep at this. To which case, if you guys are in the Bay Area, May 3rd, which is a Friday, that is going to be luau night at the Stockton Ports game, because the Stockton Ports were big supporters of the Fans Fest that went on a couple weeks ago. And apparently word on the street is the A's were not too pleased, being the single A affiliate and joining in the membership of that Fans Fest. So we're gonna support the hell out of them. So I highly recommend going to that game. Let's watch some baseball, throw on a Hawaiian shirt, and let's have some fun. But anyway, the entire situation with the A's, screw you, John Fisher. Fuck you, Dave Cavall, and everybody involved with this. I hope everything falls apart financially. I hope you are finally forced to sell the team, because Major League Baseball, the Players Association, is basically doing nothing to help this. And we're sick and tired of it. So fuck you guys. Anyway, moving on. Tommy John surgery. What in God's name is going on with these pitchers? Shane Bieber, Spencer Strider, Sandy Alcantara, and possibly a few more players by the end of this week, maybe going on the DL for the rest of the season, getting Tommy John surgery done. Tony Clark of the MLB Players Association, who of course has not said anything in regard to the A situation, has been vocal in regard to why more Tommy John surgeries are happening. And of course, they're saying it's because of the pitch clock. To which case, yes, there can be an argument made in regard to why the pitch clock is bad, because you're speeding up pitchers, they're not getting into a more relaxed motion, etc., etc. As Flashfire says, the ongoing quest for more and more velocity. However, 2 years ago at this time, before the pitch clock was instated, we actually had more Tommy John surgeries. So the entire essence of the pitch clock, yes, you can say that, but at the same time, there's evidence to prove that pitch clock has a little bit to do with it, but mostly not. The real issue comes into what's the biggest difference between the old days and the current days in regard to kids that are going onto the bump and throwing pitches. It's travel ball, it's nonstop pitching, it's kids trying to throw curveballs before their bodies have fully developed. And that's where it all begins. And I go back to when I was a kid and playing baseball, and it's like, we had baseball season for a couple months, then you shut it down, and maybe you're playing football, maybe you're playing basketball, maybe you're playing hockey, whatever. You did other things. You weren't playing baseball nonstop all year long, like a lot of parents are pushing their kids to do. So once they get to a fully developed age and they go onto the bump, whether in the minors or whether in the majors, college, what have you, you're going to see more UCLA's, snapping on the mound. And of course, nobody wants to do this because there's money involved with it. And parents, of course, pushing their kids, to fulfill their fantasies and their dreams and live vicariously through them. And the whole thing is a goddamn mess. Um, Really the biggest thing is for kids, especially, it's like you got to stand up to your parents. Like, no, you do not want to play baseball year round. Stick to it within baseball season. Do other things, grow up, be a kid, because here you are, 7 to 10 years later, and you're going in for Tommy John surgery. Like, there's no reason why anybody in their early 20s should be going in for this particular procedure. Like, if it's somebody in their 30s, okay, yeah, I get it, something to like prolong the career a bit. But my God, dude, it's so ridiculous. It is so goddamn really ridiculous. And I feel bad for anybody who's going to go out there and pitch. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, throughout this season, there's going to be more position pitchers pitching, because the fact that you got to like rest all your guys, you can't just have them go out there and slinging every day. And I mean, I look back on the golden era of baseball with your Cy Youngs, your Walter Johnsons, etc. And I mean, granted, yeah, they didn't have the velocity that we have today, or as far as we know, because the technology wasn't available. We can't go back in time with a radar gun and clock them. But the reality is, those guys were throwing every goddamn day, full games, sometimes double headers. And that's why, certain records are not going to be broken, like Cy Young's all-time win streak. Everything that's been perceived from a science perspective, having starting pitchers especially, go every 5 days, relax the arm, let it heal a bit after they've gone through a lot of trauma, but from being on the mound. But that doesn't seem to help. So now you're just gonna have more kids and more pitchers going on for Tommy John here. So anyway, comments on this one. Logan Herrera says the ban of sticky stuff and pitch clock might be the downfall of arms. I kind of agree with that. Sticky stuff, it's like, to an extent, like I was okay with it, but at the same time, it is cheating. I mean, come on. It is. Um, Sub Diego says it could also be the way they're testing for the new, and maybe before the last CBA, there was some salsa that wouldn't pop that would help recovery. Interesting. Um, Flashfire says, I believe the pitch clock has very little to do with it. I kind of agree with that. Logan R says, damn, bunch of Bruins just out on the field like that with the broken UCL. Oh, Subdigo says Trevor Story ain't gonna pitch anytime soon. That's for damn sure. I mean, that was just an unfortunate accident for him. I mean, it just all had to do with the way he landed when he made that absolutely amazing catch. So, them's the breaks. And then Sub Diego says Japan has more wear and tear on their pros, and I believe less surgeries. Yes, because of the fact that scientifically they know how to work their players. And for whatever reason, the US has not cut up in this field, despite the fact that, you know, game was quote unquote invented here and perfected here and etc. So I don't know. I don't get it. Moving on, college basketball. Shout out to the University of South Carolina and Dawn Staley, especially taking down the Iowa Hawkeyes in the national championship this weekend. I think it's clear to say that, I mean, with the exception of like, your Pat Summits, your Gino Ariyamas, Don Staley might be the greatest coach, currently in the college game. To which case, much like I supported, I think it was last year when Rebecca Hammond, or before Chauncey Billup was brought in for the Portland Trailblazers, when the Portland Trailblazers interviewed Becky Hammond to possibly take over as head coach. Um, Don Staley was given like the same courtesy, and the Blazers, I respect that. And Don Staley came out and said, they treated me like a professional, treated like somebody who was definitely going to get this job. And I would love to see it, because the fact that what else can Don Staley do? What else can Don Staley do? She just wrapped up a season, in which case, the Gamecocks went undefeated. Took down Caitlin Clark and company, despite the fact that Caitlin Clark had an absolutely amazing game, 30 plus. But I think the thing that was most remarkable about this particular South Carolina team, especially sticking with the undefeated record, there was that game against Tennessee in the SEC, not championship game, but the tournament game, when the buzzer beater was hit to extend the streak of their undefeated season. But then more specifically, every starter from last season's team, despite the fact that LSU, of course, won the national championship last year, went on to the WNBA. And so here's Don Staley with a brand new, fresh face squad and a couple returning players, and just tore the season apart. Undefeated national championship, absolutely incredible. Logan Rare says we're in the Don Staley era. Her time has been here and won't be done until the mid 2030s, and I agree with that. Um, that, of course, unless somebody wants to roll the dice on a men's NCAA team or an NBA team, I would love to see it. Just because of the fact that nothing against women coaching women, but it's time to expand our minds and expand the levels of diversity within this, to see if somebody with this level of talent, not only as a player. I mean, because Don Staley did it as a player, she did it as a national player with the U.S. national team. She's clearly done it as a coach. She is a great leader of basketball players, not specifically women, but great leader of basketball players. And I feel like she deserves her shot. And also shout out to her for the classy move in the presser, like holding the trophy after the game, after they wrapped up the title, saying, I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. And this, of course, coming on the heels of, some former UConn players, mainly highlighted by Diana Taurasi, who, what the hell, ESPN? Why? Like, let's get some like range as far as players we're gonna have in there. Like, I totally get that some of the greatest lady players in basketball history have come out of UConn, but we need some diversity here within the players you talk to, especially during the goddamn UConn game. Ugh. Anyway, so just occasional women hating on women. So Flashfire says UConn did have 4 in an 8-year stretch just recently. I get that. But at the same time, there have been other players in the mix. I mean, you got your Kelsey Plum, even though she's a Husky, but still a great one. Let alone Shamika Holtzclaw, who hasn't really done much, like after her playing career. I mean, outside of like raising a family and stuff like that, which I totally respect, but I'd still like to get her insight. Get some more Tennessee players in there. Get some Lady Vols in there. But anyway, moving on into John Calipari. I know it hasn't been finalized yet, but it's looking like he's going to be taking over as the head coach for the University of Arkansas. 15 years he's been at Kentucky, 1 national championship, and a whole string of upsets in the NCAA tournament the last couple of years. Like, I get the move, but at the same time, I don't, just because of the fact that Kentucky is definitely a legacy school. I mean, they're top 5 all time for national championships. In Arkansas has 1, which dates back to 1994. So, I mean, I guess if U of A has the money to facilitate this, sure. And especially, yeah, as Flashfire is pointing out with Eric Musselman going to USC, because USC's coach, who names escape me, went to Southern Methodist SMU. Like, that one caught me off guard because I would have felt like USC was definitely more of a destination school, especially going into the Big Ten. So whatever, do you, pal. So this will be Calipari's 5th school, because he had UMass, he had Memphis, Kentucky, and now potentially University of Arkansas. And of course, there was that time period where he was the head coach for the New Jersey Nets. But that was because he was under investigation for paying players and stuff, which isn't a big deal anymore. Shout out to the NIL. Logan Herrera says streets are calling in the equivalent of to Jimbo to A&M. I kind of agree with that. I see this as more of a downgrade or just a lateral move rather than any kind of an upgrade. But what leaves the question of like, okay, who is Kentucky going to hire? My prediction, as bold as it is, they might try to get Rick Pitino back. I know he's kind of happy at St. John's, and with his firing from Louisville a couple years ago and him just trying to like reestablish himself within the college basketball game. I know there's some other options out there, like UConn's head coach, of course. I just don't see him. I don't see Dan Hurley realistically leaving UConn, especially after winning the national championship last year and then going for it tonight. It's the whole reason why I'm doing the show like as early as I am, so we have enough time to actually watch UConn and Purdue play. So definitely some other names in the mix for Kentucky, but they're going to go after somebody big. And if it ends up being like Bruce Pearl, that would be shocking. Because I mean, Bruce Pearl, Tennessee to Auburn to Kentucky, just still sticking within the SEC, but goddamn, that would be ridiculous. Speaking of which, NCAA championship, of course, tonight. There you got Zach Edey for Purdue. There you got Donovan Klingen, aka Gunther Jr. from WWE, because he looks just like him. Um, I think this is going to be an actually incredible game. Purdue and UConn both blew out their opponents in the Final Four. Kind of unfortunate because the fact that I really wanted to see DJ and company with North Carolina State move on and pull the big upset on Purdue, just because the fact that there are teams, lower seeded teams like Wisconsin, who could take down Purdue. But of course, that was not the case. And UConn, of course, had no trouble with Alabama. So very happy to see that one, actually, because there was no way in hell I want to see Alabama good at an additional sport besides football. But anyway, looking forward to watching the game tonight. Also looking forward to the Luther Vandross One Shining Moment, which of course will follow all the post-game festivities and stuff, which is hands down one of the best parts of watching the NCAA tournament. RIP Luther Vandross. He's been dead a long time, but it's still one of the greatest highlight packages that we can get for any sport on the planet. So I'll talk about my prediction for this game once we go to Ben's bets, toward the end of the show. I think some of you might know where I'm going. So last week, or not the previous week, a week and a half ago, before the season started, I did my predictions as far as like how the season is going to shake out. Not looking great at the moment. Especially considering that the Yankees are on a bit of a tear. Same with the Red Sox. I predicted the Red Sox finishing dead last in the AL East, let alone the Orioles and Blue Jays topping out. And I know we're only 10 games into the season. Got a lot of time left, but some of my predictions on this are pretty much already DOA. But I'll get to those once we see them. The White Sox are the one team that I've actually predicted correctly so far, finishing dead last in the AL Central. Twins need to get their shit together. Royals in the third spot got that. Tigers doing a little bit better than expected, although they did hit a bit of a skid against the A's over the weekend, which was a bit surprising. And of course, the Guardians. Shout out to Stephen Vogt. I really hope this momentum continues for him and the Guardians. Wouldn't mind actually seeing them win the division title. I was between them and the Twins realistically. But Stephen Vogt, first year Stephen Vogt, is actually seeming to get it done. Unlike multi-year veteran Rocco Baldelli with the Twins, which I feel like a lot of people are already calling for his head. Rangers, I of course predicted to finish third. Not looking great right now. They're actually looking really good. Angels doing some surprising work. A's, of course, in the cellar, but was not expecting them to be tied with the Astros. Astros off to an absolutely god-awful start for this season. And it's also looking like Framber Valdez may be going on the DL here pretty soon because they scratched him from tonight's start. Arm baby, possibly the UCLA or UCL. So we'll see what happens with that. I might be crazy. And the Mariners, of course, are doing the 54% bare minimum right now. So F you guys. Braves on top, of course. Phillies number 2, Nationals surprisingly third, tied with the Mets. But the Marlins, I don't know what the hell I was thinking they were going to finish like second overall in the NL East. More than likely, this is exactly where they're going to end up at the end of the season, down in the cellar, because it is not looking good for them. And the fact that they're already looking for another manager for 2025, not a good sign. Pirates off to a hot start, but they did the same thing last year. I, of course, picked them to finish dead last in this division. I feel like that was a bit stiff. I mean, I hope they finish better than the Cardinals. Cardinals, of course, in the cellar right now, which is how they started off last year. And then Brewers currently in second, which seems to be the right place for them, which is where I predicted. But the Reds, they'll get it together. They will get it together. They'll go back up. Dodgers, of course, on top in the NL West. Yeah, it's not permanent. They're gonna falter a bit. Rockies in the bottom, got that one right. Giants off to a rough start, despite the fact that they loaded up pretty decently in the offseason. But of course, the fact that everybody besides the Dodgers currently under 500, not a great sign. So we'll see what the rest has to do with that. NBA playoff spots, finding themselves a bit. The top 10 for both the East and the West are pretty much locked up. It's just really more of a matter of who's going to be getting those play-in spots. Pacers did themselves a huge favor yesterday by taking down the Heat to stay in that 6th spot. And Philly's been on a bit of a tear lately because that bumped Miami down to the 8th spot. Pacers have 4 more games to go, 3 more games to go before the season's over. Their biggest test is actually not their next game, because their next game is the Raptors, but the game after that against Cleveland. There is the possibility that the Pacers and the Cavaliers could switch spots between the 5 and the 6. Knicks, of course, and Magic all kind of within that same range. But yeah, less than 2 weeks of basketball left to go before we start the playoffs up. And thankfully, the Pacers are going to get a playoff spot. But like I said, I just hope they don't get a play-in spot. I'd rather them actually lock up a top 6 spot. So hopefully they get it. Over in the West, Thunder have been faltering a bit thanks to injuries. To which case, yeah, big win by the Pacers the other day. But Timberwolves and Nuggets currently tied for the top spots. Kings, Lakers, Warriors, Pelicans all kind of like fighting for those play-in spots right now. Although the Suns and the Pelicans can still kind of do the old switcheroo a little bit, because the Suns were definitely in the play-in spot for a bit. Pelicans were much higher on the list, but they've had some problems lately. So we'll see what the next couple weeks are going to do. But out of this list, I'd say go Kings. Go Kings in the play-in spot. Anyway, hockey, which I haven't really talked about, but of course, once the playoffs start up, I'll have a lot more to talk about. These spots are pretty much already on ice. Bruins, Panthers, Leafs, Lightning, Rangers, Hurricanes, got those locked up. And it's just really more of a question of who's going to the last few. If it's going to be the Islanders. The Penguins have been on a bit of a tear lately, which is good. The Red Wings have been hit or miss. The Leafs actually have a couple games against the Devils this next week, to which case it's like, yeah, the Leafs should win these games and hopefully bump their stock up a little bit, but we will see. And then, of course, over in the West, Canucks and Stars. Canucks, every time I bet on them, they piss me off and they fucking lose, and I don't get it. So I may never do that again. But anyway, same with the Avalanche, like top teams. Just I bet on them against easy teams that they should win, and they blow it for me. But yeah, they're in the top spots. Stars, Avalanche, Jets, Predators, Canucks, Oilers, Kangs, Golden Knights, reigning champion Golden Knights, Predators. I already said that. And it's looking like it's going to be the Blues and probably the Wild are going to finish this one out. So anyway, EPL. Shout out to Chelsea, finally getting a big win over Manchester United, only to draw against Sheffield United. I don't know why, but Chelsea cannot beat easy squads in the bottom of the table. They keep tying. Fuck. But somehow they're still in the 9th spot, and there is the possibility that they could finish in the top 6, which is absolutely mind-blowing because they have 2 games in hand, thank God. But we'll see what they do. But Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham, top 4 for you. Which is all kind of surprising with Aston Villa there and the 2 of them still close together, that nobody seems to want, like, for sure, that top 4 spot. But obviously Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City are going to dogfight it until the end of the season. And of course, Man City's got an FA Cup semifinal against Chelsea coming up like a week and a half from now. So looking forward to that. That's your top 10. Bottom course, Sheffield United and Burnley more than likely looking to get relegated. Who is going to be that last team? Nottingham Forest got a big surprise win against Fulham the other day, which killed one of my parlay bets, which I'm going to get into a little bit. But there is the possibility that Nottingham Forest can take down Wolverhampton, because why the hell not? So I realistically see, like, the way the standings are going right now is how it's going to finish. So really just depends on if Everton keeps winning and whether or not Luton Town, Nottingham Forest actually want to get some more wins. Luton Town, of course, has the unfortunate reality that I think they're going against Man City or Arsenal in their next game. So more than likely losing that one. So anyway, let me go to the comments real quick, because I feel like I've just been blowing through that and didn't really talk to you guys. Tom Cruise says, go Phils. Flashfire says, if you pick the opponent run line against the A's, you'd have been in good shape through 5 games. then you would have missed the last 5, which is why exactly why I didn't do it. Logan Herrera says, "Listen, we start slow, then eventually get back on pace, but fuck, it's still annoying considering the way that blown saves and errors have been the problem for the Astros. Also, Dusty Baker not being there is probably a big factor into that as well." Flashfire says, "I may go to Warriors Blazers Thursday if Steph plays." Why don't you just go anyway? I would go. I would go. I think it'd be fun. Anyway, WrestleMania was this weekend, and I know I don't talk a lot about wrestling anymore because I've been kind of asked not to. And I did ask Steve Wright to join me for this, but unfortunately he's busy picking up his wife from the airport. So I'm just mainly want to highlight my favorite moments, matches from this weekend. Flashfire says, "Gotta watch the ticket prices to see if they go down." And so, okay, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I mean, if you're not getting the door for less than $20, there's no point. But of course, WrestleMania was in Philadelphia. Um, Got to start out with night one because they're still doing this 2-night thing, which they've been doing for the last few years. Still on the fence about how I feel about it. Having never been to a WrestleMania, that is actually one thing I'm jealous of my wife and a lot of friends about, is they've been to a WrestleMania. They all went to the WrestleMania in Santa Clara. I got stuck working that day, so I did not get to enjoy that. But anyway, the 2-night process, the biggest downside of this is, of course, the fact that anybody who goes is paying out the ass for hotels and tickets and et cetera and merch and whatever. So I feel kind of bad for them in regard to that, but in regard to wrestling excitement and being able to, truly tell a great story, I do actually kind of dig it. So, first match of night one, this of course was actually one of the better matches in my opinion. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch for the WWE Women's title, to which case Rhea Ripley did win. Doing big things with Judgment Day, and of course Judgment Day was going to get a couple belts over this weekend. Another one, of course, that they acquired, I'm going to get to in here in just a minute. The tag match was actually pretty decent. A-Town Down Under, of course, winning the SmackDown title, and R-Truth and The Miz teaming up for the Awesome Truth, winning the Raw titles. I felt like that was a really good coming of moment for R-Truth, especially just because the fact that he's been such a great worker over the decades, and I mean decades. So good to see him finally getting his comeuppance, and solid kudos for him on that. And especially The Miz. Like, I've always liked The Miz. So to see him get yet another belt, or another notch on his belt with another title, is always a good thing. Flashfire says, "The way they built a result of night one into stipulation for night two was a good idea." I agree with that. And actually, I forgot to grab photos of that, but I will talk about that here in a second. Tone Cruz did not know it was 2 nights. Oh yeah, they've been doing it like basically since COVID. Just because they spaced it out a bit, just because they didn't want people getting sick, and they just decided to continue with it. So pretty smart move. But yes, that was the one I forgot. Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey were there. They were part of the Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio match. It was decent. I mean, that was probably like the biggest highlight of it. Like, I personally don't care about their rivalry much anymore. And so that's kind of where I falter with that. And then same with the women's match, where it was Damage Control versus oh my god, why am I spacing on their names right now? Jade Cargill, um help. I just what happens when I didn't write them down because I wasn't planning on talking about it. Damage Control versus Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. Thank you, Flash. I knew you'd be quick on that one. Um, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, especially being top draw talent, getting stuck in a 3-on-3 match is kind of ridiculous. So that's why I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's not to say they did a poor job or anything like that. I thought they did great. I just feel like their level of talent and their ability was just underutilized. But when you got to fill in 2 nights worth of action, I guess you got to throw people somewhere. So I wasn't really feeling that one. I was hoping for more for them. And of course, my personal favorite match of the night for night one was Sami Zayn versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title. Gunther, of course, locking up the longest consecutive win streak, or days held with the title for the Intercontinental title, over 600. I think it was 666 days, which is kind of hilarious. Um, yes, David Kearns. Yes, Jimmy and Jay Uso on day one fell flat for me as well because they've already done it and I didn't need to see it again. Like, I just felt like they were just throwing it together. I know there was some storyline having to do with it because of the end of night one, of course, the end of night two, but it was like completely unnecessary for them to do it. I felt like they could have made a lot of other matches longer, and that would have been much better. But Sami Zayn, boom. Big Intercontinental title win, like his first title win in like quite a while. Especially I mean, with the exception of like when him and Kevin Owens won the tag titles, of course. But from an individual title perspective, because last year everybody was hoping that Sami Zayn was going to be the one to take down Roman Reigns and become the undisputed WWE champion, which would have been great in regard to the storyline. But as we found out for night two, there were bigger plans for a bigger story for that. To which case, a bad photo I got because I had to screenshot it, whatever. I couldn't find an actual photo. The brain buster, going back to Sami Zayn's El Generico days, as a finisher on Gunther was top notch, top notch. Just great storyline, great story build up there. So here we are in night two, and of course, Drew McIntyre taking away um Seth, someone said Seth Rogen, Seth Rollins WWE Championship belt, and of course, obscured behind Drew McIntyre in this situation is CM Punk, who the two of them had been spatting against one another since CM Punk's return this last year. There was a great moment in the match where Drew McIntyre's wife was sitting on the rail. He grabbed her phone and tweeted out, "Bored at work, LOL." And then doubled down on it with another retweet quote later, which was phenomenal. But of course, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre get into a bit of a spiff after Drew McIntyre won the belt. So he held it for about 5 minutes. CM Punk beat the crap out of him, to which case then Damian Priest came in because he's had the money in bank for over a year now. Came in, cashed it in, won the title. So now Damian Priest, part of Judgment Day, of course, is your WWE champion or one of your WWE champions. Because obviously Roman Reigns still had the Universal Championship. Um, I thought that was great. But at the same time, the wrestling fan and chaos fan in me was actually hoping that this is a moment that was going to happen at the end of the night in regard to the Roman Reigns Cody match, which I question how everybody's sanity would have been if Damian Priest cashed in after that match, because I think it would have been fucking wild. But anyway, moving on. Becky Lynch winning the women's title, the Raw women's title more specifically against Io Sky. Good to see her with an individual match strap again. I was kind of hoping, just because Bailey's become a bit of a good guy again, that she was going to come out to her old theme music and kind of like flare outfit and stuff with like all the hyper colors and stuff. That didn't happen. There was a bit of an Egyptian theme that she was going with. She's from San Jose, and there was a very specific park that is actually Egyptian theme that is around the area where she grew up. And so I'm trying to remember the name of it. I had it written down, but anyway, that was the whole theme there. But anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was a decent match. Good finish as well. And then of course Cody Rhodes, and of course I didn't talk about the tag match at the end of night one, which was the Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins got his ass kicked all weekend, and honestly, team player, man, good on you, because he lost a title, he lost the tag match, and then during the Cody Roman Reigns match, he came out in his Shield gear, took a kick to the face, took a chair shot at the end, which, for the fact of long-term storytelling, when back when the Shield originally broke up, that was phenomenal. And yes, Flash, you hit on the head. Seth definitely needs a break, and I hope he gets it. Because the same thing got going to be said about the Rhea Ripley Becky Lynch match, where a lot of people are thinking like the way she was kind of looking around was like as if like is this it? Is this like her last match? But I guess we'll find out more on Raw. To which case, if anybody's watching Raw right now, do not give me any spoilers because I am recording it. Um, but anyway, um, it was the bloodline rules. So of course, Jimmy and Jay Uso were going to come out for this one. We all knew The Rock was going to show up, which he did, but unexpected turn with the Undertaker coming out from below the mat and giving The Rock a choke slam. I honestly think it would have been so much more badass if it was Stone Cold Steve Austin that did it instead of The Undertaker. But as a lot of people said, it's like once you hear that bell in the Undertaker's theme, like you just kind of lose control and just everything just becomes adrenaline at that point. So, but I know that if you would have heard the shattered glass, after The Rock made his made his appearance and started putting the beat down on Cody, holy shit, that place would have gone nuts. But it didn't happen. It's okay. The story was finished. I'm actually happy for Cody for everything that he's been through between, leaving WWE, going to New Japan, going to Ring of Honor, helping create AEW, and then coming back into the fold of WWE and, getting his due. It's a big deal. So I like the way they did this. Flashfire says even Brendan McCarthy had a great tweet about the belt. I think I saw that one. That's what kind of like motivated me to say what I said. Flashfire says, like, I haven't watched any wrestling, but look at this person in blue who immediately reacts to the bell like a Pavlovian response. I 100% agree. Um, Chills, man, chills, and hair standing up on the back of your neck and stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like for anybody who disrespects or just doesn't get wrestling, like moments like that, sounds like that. That is why we watch and we support and we dedicate our time to it because it's phenomenal. And the storytelling, especially like just everything just kind of coming around. Roman Reigns finally going to get some additional time off, which is going to be kind of nice as well. Um, really, really respect everything he did for the company, and then more specifically for him and his character over the last 5 years. I mean, for so long, fans wanted Roman Reigns to turn heel. And then finally they did it. And when they did it, it's like, oh my God, this is like the best way they could have possibly done it. So shout out. And then shout out big to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Um, Paul Heyman during his Hall of Fame acceptance speech, kind of really went into detail about that. And now we're in the era of Triple H, and this is what we all wanted for a long period of time, just because we all felt like Vince was taking down the product, and now that he was, forcefully essentially removed from the equation, and Triple H is given the reins and all the faith. And the like, I would say if anybody got a big push, it was him compared to like any of the talent that hits a squared circle. And he knocked it out of the park. Like for his first, you know, full freedom WrestleMania, I felt like he did a great job. As did the rest of the writing staff and the producers, etc. Um, it actually motivates me to go like watch the product again. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Um, so going back to Vegas, we got a little extra time because still got an hour until this basketball game starts. But this was the only bet I made that cashed in. And the way that it happened was actually kind of spectacular. So because the fact I used the Bet MGM app, I can't use it in California. I can only use it in Nevada. So I had to wait until I crossed state lines uh, to be able to put this bet. And of course, I placed this bet the second our wheels hit the ground. So what was this on Thursday? Because the North Carolina State Duke game, started at 2:11 p.m. Flight left at like 2:30, whatever. And so by the time we landed, second half had just started, and North Carolina State was down by 6. So it's like, all right, I'll throw $5 on North Carolina State just because the fact that, they went on a tear through the ACC tournament. Here they are playing Duke, which is an ACC rival. Bam, cashed in. And it was awesome. So that was a great way to start the Vegas trip. Every other bet I made from that point on did not go so well. For example, I had a parlay between Iowa over LSU, which did cash in. But then I thought, University of Southern California with Juju Watkins actually had the possibility of taking down UConn. They did not. So I lost that one. What else did I lose? Oh, this three-leg parlay between the Knicks, Rockets, Jazz, because I was looking at underdog bets and trying to actually win some money. Not a goddamn one of them won their game. So F that. Then I had to throw in a soccer bet. So first leg hit, no problem. Newcastle United versus Everton came to a draw. Um, Fulham losing to Nottingham Forest blew my goddamn mind. As did Wolverhampton. AFC Bournemouth was like the only addition that I threw in last minute because it's like, yeah, they should be able to beat Crystal Palace. And then Tottenham did not beat West Ham. That's for damn sure. Holy shit, that was terrible. Um, but hilarious at the same time. So I lost $5 on that one. Then the next day on a gamble because it would have paid a lot of money. I threw $5 on Arsenal, Luton Town possibly tying, along with Man City, Aston Villa tying. Hell no, that did not happen. Arsenal beat the brakes off of Luton Town, as did Man City over Aston Villa. No surprise there. And then the last bet I made, um, God, I still can't believe I did this one. It was funny because I was in between the Pacers and the Blazers. Now, the reason I threw the Pacers on this one was because 2 nights before, they had taken down the Brooklyn Nets by like 26 points. So it's like, yeah, why would they lose? Why would they not win this next game 2 days later? Well, they did. And sure enough, I decided to roll with the Oklahoma City Thunder upset over the Boston Celtics. That sure as shit didn't happen because they lost by like fucking 30. And of course, the one game that I was looking at, like, oh yeah, maybe we should bet on that one was the Portland Trailblazers for the Charlotte Hornets. To which case the Blazers were the underdog, and they won that goddamn game. So go F and figure. Go F and figure. So anyway, that was the insanity there. My Ben's bets for like the last time I did the show. It was Indiana State over Utah because the Utah game had, or like Indiana State had beaten Cincinnati, and my pick was Indiana State's going to beat whoever in the semifinal, which was Utah, and I was right. To which case, that Indiana State Seton Hall NIT championship game was phenomenal. Should have been more foul calls toward the end. Let's be real about that for both teams. I'm not trying to pick one over the other. But for an NIT game, that was probably one of the best NIT games I've seen in a long time. And I watched that one at El Cortez while I was getting my ass kicked at roulette. So it was fun, but also depressing at the same time. Guardians over the A's on opening day. I was correct about that. I was not even closely correct about Houston versus Duke. I think they only lost by like 5, so whatever. Oh god, there's a camera go. And then of course Chelsea, Burnley. Those bastards drew, and I'm still pissed about that. There was no reason why Chelsea should have lost that game, but they did because they're fucking Chelsea, and they like pissing me off. Back on screen. There we go. So my picks for this week, I've got Purdue covering the spread. That's plus 6.5 tonight versus UConn. I am in no way saying they're going to beat UConn. They're just going to keep it close. Going to keep it close. I've got the Giants over the Nationals tomorrow. I've got the Pacers over the Cavaliers on Friday. I know that's a ballsy pick, but the Pacers need it. The Pacers need this win to stay in that top 6 spot. So I feel like they can do it. And then because Nottingham Forest took down Fulham when I was in Vegas, I've got them taking down Wolverhampton. I spelled Wolverhampton incorrectly, but I still got them taking it. So anyway, those are my picks. So I'll leave you guys with this story. Oh my god, sorry, my eye has just been wild. Let me take a sip of water real quick. It's a good story. Flashfire says my buddy did a 10-cent bet the other night on the 6 biggest NBA favorites to just lose. Would have paid like $3,000. He actually got 3 of them right. That's crazy. Yeah, I was kind of expecting the spread to be a little bit higher too, but because of the fact that Purdue beat down North Carolina State by like what, 12, 13 points, It's probably why the spread got a little bit closer than it did. But anyway, so here's my big story from Vegas. Um, this last Wednesday was my wife's birthday. Happy birthday again, babe. And a year ago, so Memorial Day of last year, Steven Seabright, his wife, my wife, and I were staying at the Park MGM because we went to AEW Double or Nothing. David Kearns was there as well. We all went together. It was awesome. Um, but early one morning, Steven, his wife, my wife, and I went down to the craps table because they do craps lessons at like 11 a.m. So it's like, you know what? Hey, I don't know how to play this game like completely. Let's go check it out, see what happens. Well, we got absolutely shit faced the night before. More so me, because I think that was the night. Yeah, because the previous night was when I was at El Cortez and I hit like 40 spins in a row. And we were there till like 4 in the morning. So I was like drunk, hungover, tired. Everybody else, well, we all grouped together and we went down for the lesson, but the mental state I was in, I didn't learn a thing. Or I thought I did. I thought I picked it up, but I did not. I was just like, my brain was mush. So my wife was like, "Hey, we should do that again. Just be like smarter about it, not go out, getting hammered or anything like that, so we can actually focus and actually retain this information." So we did. So went down Wednesday morning on the day of her birthday and, took the lesson, to which case it's like, oh yeah, it was the same guy who taught it too, which was great. His name is Sean. Sean at Park MGM. Awesome guy. To which case he actually remembered me from when I was in town the previous week for the Pac-12 tournament. Like we locked eyes when I was walking through the casino on my way to a game, and he actually realized like, where'd all your hair go? So sharp memory on that guy. But anyway, learn craps. And I'll be honest, like, so as soon as we got done with the lesson, there were like a couple open spots at a table. So my wife and I went over because it's like, it's one thing to learn it, but it's another thing to put it into practice, because the more you practice, the more you're going to retain the information, et cetera, et cetera. So, so there was a lady at one end. So looking at the table, so on the right side in the corner was a lady, who it turns out actually works like for MGM. And then to my left was a gentleman wearing an Oregon Ducks polo shirt. So of course, it's like, oh yeah, this is good luck. And on the opposite end of the table was like two other guys. So the way the dice was going around, one of the guys on the left side had just, hit a 7 on his point. So, bets off the table. Now let's put some new bets out. And and so now it's our turn. So throw our bets out, whatever. And then the lady who was in the corner, she only bet. She doesn't want to roll the dice, so she passed it to my wife. To which case, my wife was nervous and then passed it to me. So it's like I'm out here just shooting. First or second roll, like one of the dice flew off the table. Blah blah blah. But I got it under control. It's like I got a decent rhythm about it, but it's just like, you're doing something for the first time, you don't want to screw up, and so that's what it was. But anyway, after that first day, because the guy in the Oregon polo, dude, he shot for like 45 minutes. It was incredible. And then there was another guy who came in later down at the opposite end of the table. Same thing. That guy shot for like an hour. And this whole time, it's just like win, 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 win. So my wife and I both, like, I went in for 150, my wife went in for 200. And after that first session, like we both left like with over like $500 profit each. Incredible. Both got upset of some tight holes that we were in for like the last couple of days. But the story I got for you realistically is the next day we went back to the same table. And there's all the side bets you can make, to which case one of them is the little ones, big ones, and then basically all the numbers that are not, crap out numbers. So not a 7. So I always play the big ones just because statistically you're more than likely going to hit the larger numbers. So the larger numbers, of course, are anywhere between 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you hit those, depending on how much you got on it, I usually throw $5 on it. It's a 30 to 1 bet, but you have to clear out the entire slate on a roll. So if you throw your $5 down to start and then you roll a 7 to start things off, even though you win on the pass line, you lose that $5 bet because it basically just restarts itself. So there was a moment where I got myself in a situation where it's my turn to roll. And my wife and I were on the left side of the table this time, and we lost all of our money because everybody was shooting poorly. So then she and I went over the right side of the table where we were successful the previous day. And, she passed a roll to me, and it's like, all right. Meanwhile, there's a Hat Club shopper that comes up because he was wearing the LA Dodger ice cold fashion that he got from the Ontario store. He didn't recognize me at first, but then I started talking about his hat, and then he realized, like, oh shit, you cut your hair off. So anyway, so it's my turn to roll, and I shit you not, I rolled 5 7s in a row on the pass line bet. So it's just like win, 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 win. Because I'm actually pretty decent at shooting dice. Like if I want to get a number, like I will get it. So, but I had not gotten that big ones bet. Like that was like my main focus because it's like it's a $5 bet, easy 150. So even though it was a $15 minimum bet on the pass line, I'm still losing $5 because I'm still trying to bet the big ones every time. So I'm only gaining $10 per time I roll a 7. Not the end of the world. I'm still gaining. But anyway, we go around the table and it finally comes back to my wife. And I throw my $5 down on the big ones and she rolls a 7. Okay, cool. Still get $15 on the pass line. I'm only up. I'm getting $10, but another $5 going on the big ones. Her next roll was an 8. So it's like, all right, cool. There's our point. So she needs to roll another 8, whether hard way, easy way, whatever. Next roll, 9. I'm like, okay, so I'll play the field as well because the field is 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's not like the more common numbers. Because obviously a 7 is not going to be in the field because that's a crap out number. But if you get a 2 in the field, then you win double your money in that bet. And if you get a 12, you get triple your money. So anyway, it's part of the story. So at this point, she's gone 7, 8, 9. So it's like, okay, because the fact that 9, 10, 11, 12 are all field numbers, it's like I'm going to play the field every time because I'm hoping she's going to wrap up this big one's bet. So next roll off the 9 is a 10. So once again, I always got my bet on a 10 anyway, 10 and a 9. So I should already won 2 bets plus the field bet plus another field bet with the $10. Next roll, she rolls an 11. Like, holy shit. There's another field bet. Awesome, but still no bet on the point line, whatever, because she still needs like an 8. And then I'm just like, look at the situation. I'm like, babe, if you can roll a 12, because she had just gone 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 consecutively. If you can roll a 12, like holy fucking shit, you're gonna be the greatest dice player of all time. So of course I added an extra 5 on my field bet, and sure enough, she shoots it, and I look down, I see 1 6, and I'm looking at the other one. I'm like, no way, no way. And sure enough, it was a 12, and she had just hit the entire big ones because I won $20 times 3 for her rolling the 12, plus on top of which a $5 bet at 30 to 1. So instantly won $170 right there. And it's just like all because of her. And because she was a badass, I of course cut that right down the middle and gave her half of it. Hands down, one of the greatest things I've ever seen on any kind of a gambling table. And like it sucks because like you can't take video or anything like that, but it's like if there was a moment where I wish to God there was a video of it, that 5-6 minutes that it went through from going 7 to 12 all consecutively, and her of course netting me all this money, to which case she just got half of it easily. That would have been a good one to post. So I assure you, we did not walk away after that. I ended up losing like half of it back to the table over the next couple moves. But I mean, we all finished ups, or no, I finished down on the table because I crapped out because of everybody else at the table shooting terribly. like I still left with money. Like I think I went in for like $400 and I left with like two. And my wife ended up only going down like 60. But the dude, the Hat Club shopper, because my wife and I just kept rolling sevens like crazy. That dude left with like a fucking stack. So I ain't mad about that. But what's crazy is like earlier that day, before we played, I was playing like a couple slot machines and I ended up winning like $200 off of those as well as last night. Like last night ended winning $200, then started the morning winning another $200 on the same fucking slot machine. Then lost half that money to craps. Then we went over to Fremont Street and played Let It Ride at Golden Nugget, to which case I won 200 more dollars. And then we went to El Cortez and I proceeded to lose that $200 again. So somehow I finished the day like dead even. Despite like how many times I went up and probably should just like, you know what, I'm done gambling. I'm in a good spot. But no, that moment that my wife did that was absolutely incredible. And yeah, happy birthday to her. She and I, of course, will be going back to Vegas Memorial Day weekend again. Because they finally announced Double or Nothing is going back to Vegas, which we kind of figured it was going to happen. So we got the hotel like well enough in advance. But it's no longer going to be at T-Mobile. They're actually going to do it at the MGM Grand again, which I'm not mad about. That was where they did the very first Double or Nothing. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. So looking forward to that. Um, so yeah, between now and then, just going on some work trips and sticking here with you guys, doing bench warmers and flip the script tomorrow, and of course recap on Wednesdays. So, but no, good to be back and appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, we're going to be posting this on YouTube, so give us a follow there or subscribe as they call it. Hat hyphen club. Give us a subscription. Subscribe to us, follow us, give us a like, you know, whatever all that stuff is. Austin and I will be back, of course, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Flip the Script. And recap this week's gonna be pretty solid. I gotta pick up the hats. I gotta pick up the hats tomorrow. Um, Not as many dropping online over the next week, but of course, you know, we got to talk about Houston. So, but the stuff that is dropping over the next week online, it's a lot of variety pack stuff. That's why I say that. It's like two collections, and then there's gonna be like a few highlights from one of the variety packs we're gonna show off. So, to try and like keep the show from going long, basically, you know, we want to give you guys time to like you enjoy yourselves. But anyway, as always, guys, take it easy, and if you don't, take it sleazy. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Oh, what's the game for Flip the Script? We still got to figure that out. But thing that Austin or apparently was brought up in meetings last week while I was gone, but they talked about it today, is they want me to branch out and play like non-sports games. They want me to do like a not necessarily like a role playing or anything like that. But if any of you guys saw, like they like on Game Pass, they had GoldenEye, like the old N64 GoldenEye. So there might be a night where I just bust that out and just start playing that. Uh, so that would be pretty fun. Yeah, I don't know what we haven't talked about the situation for this weekend, Logan. So I will look into it. I think it'll be fun. And then yeah, we got to get some shooter games on here too. So like a Call of Duty or something like that. I haven't played one of those games in ages. So might be good to get back into that. So we talked about Fall Guys actually. I could probably do that. I could do that. Why not? I actually what I'm gonna look for since it's Xbox, if they have like the old Dead Rights game, holy shit. I want to knock that one out of the park. Fucking love that game. Actually, I'm gonna look for that as soon as I wrap up. So anyway, guys, as always, take it easy. If you don't, take it sleazy. I will see you guys tomorrow for Flip the Script. Have a great night. Peace.